Well, hello there. Welcome to Hanging with the Hags. Well, Vicki and I have been hanging out here in Washington the last 3 months, and time is quickly going by. And so we are less than 2 weeks away from getting back on the road full time, and we're going to spend another 9 months traveling the United States. And so this year we're heading over to Wisconsin to see our oldest son. We're dropping the RV off in Indiana for some warranty work with Alliance. And then we are heading up to the Northeast. We're hoping to get all the way to Bar Harbor, Maine, and take the entire eastern seaboard all the way back down to Key West. And then we have some plans to spend some family time in Key West from December 15th to January, hanging out. We have some family members that are coming down to visit us while we're there during the holidays. And so we're super excited to get back on the road. And so I've been catching up on some maintenance items with the RV. And today I got 2 things that we're going to do. We have the Blue Technology system in our RV. This is a water filtration system, and they say that these filters are good for 3 to 6 months. I changed my filters last year at 6 months, and I felt like that they weren't really ready to be changed at 6 months. So these filters have been in for a full year, so we're going to see how bad they are after a full year, and who knows, maybe we change what we do going forward. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to pull the water heater, pull the water out of the water heater and kind of flush that system and check on the anode that's in there. The anode was changed last year, and so after our first year and a half of using our RV full time, the anode really wasn't that bad, but I went ahead and changed it anyways. And so I'm curious to see how the anode is doing in the hot water tank. And so in preparation for this, the first thing that I did was this morning after we got going, I turned off the hot water tank because you don't want the hot water to be coming out blazing hot. And so that's been sitting and cooling off all day in preparation for draining the tank and flushing it and checking the anode. The next thing, before we really get into changing the filters, I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough of my setup. This is a Alliance Paradigm. It's a 2023 Alliance Paradigm 382 RK. And we are on the driver's side of the coach. We have a big storage side on here. And I kind of wanted to just do a walkthrough of the setup in the Alliance and some modifications that I did. So we'll continue that right now. Okay, so as I stated before, this is the driver's side compartment on our Alliance 382 RK. And the first thing that I did was I put in a slide tray, and I absolutely love this mechanism. So it's got a lever here, pull up, and I believe this one is a 60% each way. So it comes all the way out this side. So you really can have access to all of your whatnots that's in your RV pretty easy when everything is on this tray. And then it slides both ways on either side. It's been very convenient, and I'm very happy that I did that. On the left side there, this is where I put my Starlink. And so my Starlink actually comes in underneath. I have my Cat 5 connector right here. I drilled a hole through so I can just run my cord to my antenna, plug it in, and then the Starlink pretty much stays here non-stop. It's plumbed in, and then I have an outlet up here that this is tied to. Now, if you have this RV, you probably have an outlet back here, but I moved that outlet and I just zip tied it up there on the top of that wall, and it doesn't impede getting into the back here, so it's up on the bar. And I don't really use that outlet very often other than with the Starlink, and so this just seems to work. And then what that did is it allowed me to put my 3-stage blue technology filtration system inside the wet bay, which is what I really wanted to do. I really wanted something that I could install into the RV, not impede any of my space, and not have to worry about pulling something out. So at this point, you know, this is our filtration system here. It's plumbed into the RV right here. I have a quick connect here that came with the system, and then this is going into the RV, and that stays there. Pretty much it hasn't been removed since I first put it in. There's been no reason to. And then I just have some rubber clips over here holding that hose line in. And then this is the going into the filtration system. And then if you back that line, I just, again, did clips all the way down. And then I put, this is the line that the initial line that came with it. And it's got a quick connect right here, which is super convenient. And then you have your freshwater accesses right there. And so the first thing that we got to do is, before I forget, is to turn off the water, of course. Okay, so we got our water turned off, and the thing that I like about this is when you're going to plug it into your water, all you're doing is you're running this line underneath to your hose bib, and then I think this is 25 feet, and then I have an additional piece if I need it. And then the nice thing is this is pretty just an easy quick connect, so I always kind of pull it on the outside of the RV and then just disconnect it. Always drain out a little bit of water there. And then to prevent water from splashing around too much, this is just another quick connect with a hose attachment that I just leave in the off position so I can plug that in and then it doesn't drip on the inside. And then if you'll notice here, this is my black tank flush here. And so what I do is I just keep an elbow on there all the time. My concern is that the more you attach and deattach hose items from this, that could wear out. So I've left this 45 elbow, and then I have this quick connect on here. And then what I do when I go to flush my black tank is I connect this into the hose, and then I can just quick connect it on there, and then I can flush my system. So those have been some of the modifications that we did in our wet bay. So now we'll get on to checking out these filters. So I'm going to see if I can. Alrighty, and so now we're getting ready to change these filters out. So I have my replacement set here, so you can look and see how nice and spanking shiny those white filters are. I doubt the ones inside there are going to be looking like that, but we'll do a little comparison here in a second. And then I went ahead and turned off the water, and then this came with the original system. Even though I turned the water off, these filters are going to be full of water. And so we got to be careful that we don't get a lot of water in the wet bay. If you're an RVer, you've probably had some we've purchased some water sensors, and we have, I think, 6 water sensors throughout our RV. One is in the wet bay down by the pump, but I want to try and prevent water from getting down there, so I'm going to take this old towel and throw it down here. And then what this does is this little tool will loosen up the collar of each of the filters. You loosen up the collar, and then the filter should come right down. Yep, just as I suspected, there was going to be some water in there. Okay, so that's number 1. So the first one is what they call the longevity filter, and this filter is what takes out some of the larger contaminants, is my understanding. And that longevity filter, let's do a little comparison there. So it looks like it's been doing a lot of great work. And so there's a little bit of sediment in the bottom of this that we'll go ahead and dump out. And we'll just set that off to the side. And then we're going to put this right back in here. And then this collar will go. Then you can just cinch this down. All right, the next filter, this is the 0.02 micron filter. So this is the one that's filtering out some of the smaller contaminants. Okay, again, we'll do a little comparison. So again, this is after 1 year of use. So again, doing its job. Little to no sediment in the bottom of that one, as expected. Put that in, and this time we're going to try and put the collar on the right way. Should go on like that. Now, usually the middle one is the most difficult because you're in the middle here, but not today. Alright, that's the 0.2 micron. So we're just going to snug that down a little bit. Okay, and now the last one is what they call the tasty filter. And so this has coconut shells, is my understanding, inside. It provides a little bit of better taste to the water. And as you can see, so really no difference in this one. This is pretty much all plastic here. there's the filters up underneath. I guess you can see there that filter's got a little bit of stuff in it, and maybe a little bit on the top too. But all in all, thing is working really well for us. We've been extremely happy with this system. And then the question always comes up, well, do you drink your water? And so the answer is yes. We do drink the water that comes to our RV. And what we do is so all of our water coming in is filtered. So if it's pumping into the tank, it's being filtered. If it's going into our sinks, it's being filtered. Now, if we're doing water that we're consuming, then what we have is we have a secondary, it's a pitcher with its own filter in it. And so when we're consuming the water, that's the water that we'll usually drink on the day-to-day, is water that's filtered coming in, and then water that we run into the pitcher that has the filter in it, and then that goes in the refrigerator. But if I'm in the bathroom and I need to take some pills or something, I have no problem drinking the water that's coming into the RV through this filtration system. So, and yeah, so really that's about it. We'll make sure that these are tightened back up. And then we will reconnect here. And then we will turn on our fresh water. Okay, we turned on our fresh water. We're gonna check for leaks on here. And then you can hear water is filling up each of these filters as it's repressurizing the tanks and the lines in the system. And there we go. So that in a nutshell is the water filtration system. Yeah, it's a little messy, so be sure and have a towel down here. But I really like how I have this set up, where it's mounted in here, and all I have to do is quick connect my hose and run it to the spigot. It's made life really easy. So, all right, next up, moving on to the hot water tank. Alrighty, now we're at the hot water tank. So we can flip that latch, pull that off, and the cover should pop off. That easy. So you do have to have a extremely large socket for this. This is a 1 1/16 socket to get the anode out. This is a Suburban hot water tank. This is a 12-gallon. This is what comes standard on an Alliance fifth wheel, I believe. At least in 2023, that's what it did. And 12 gallons, and we found that we really haven't really needed much more than that, even if we're taking showers back to back. We would turn the electric and the gas on in those scenarios, but in most cases, we're just running it on electric, and it's doing just fine. All right, so step one is you gotta turn this relief valve here. They recommend doing this at least once a year, pulling the relief valve and just dumping the water out of the system. This will get most of the water out. And then this kind of depressurizes the tank. It is kind of weird how all the water just kind of flushes out of there. The other thing that you want to do is you do want to turn off your fresh water to the RV. I don't know if you heard that, but as soon as I release this valve, water's coming out. My freshwater system is now cycling to refill the water in the tank. So I forgot to turn the water off. But anyways, the water's off now. And then it is kind of nerve-wracking opening that. But the water is just a little bit warm right now because I have had the hot water tank off all day. And so it's about 4:30 in the evening right now, and that water is still warm but not hot. So now we're going to go ahead and pull the anode, and what the anode, my understanding of what the anode does is all of the minerals that are in the water coming into your system, instead of attaching to the inside of your tank and eating away the inside liner of your hot water tank, what the anode is it's in there so that they'll attack the anode instead of the tank. And so, like I said earlier, we replaced the first one, I think, at 1 year, and it really didn't look that bad. But I had another one, and I said, well, I'll go ahead and replace it. So I'm expecting that I'm not going to have to replace the anode today, but we'll see. Okay, and as you can see, the rest of the water is now draining out. And if you look at this anode, so it really hasn't reduced much in the diameter of it. It's definitely pitted, and it's certainly doing what it should be doing. And so, but again, I'm not going to replace this. I'm going to go for year number 2. And maybe because I have the water filtration system, maybe less impurities are getting into the hot water tank. And that's why after a year, this is what it looks like. Anyways, and so what they recommend is flushing this tank out. So once this drains, I do believe that if you looked on Amazon, the only thing that I would say that would be nice to have is this hose does not fit inside of the water, the hot water tank. So if you had an old piece of hose, you could certainly put that on, and then if this was cut off, you could put your hose into the tank. So if you got an extra piece of hose laying around, might be a good idea to save a chunk for this. Otherwise, I believe Amazon does have some RV hot water tank clean out hoses that would attach onto here, that would then go into the tank. I'm just going to turn the water on as what I did last time, and kind of use my finger and spray it in there, and see what comes out. I know you can't see it on the phone, but certainly on this tray up here, you can see some of the white stuff, similar to what was on the anode, some of the little flakes. You can certainly see those in here. So, although I don't have the fancy hose, I believe this is working. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and let that drain off for a minute. While that's draining, I'm going to get my thread tape. So this is your plumber's tape here, and this is what's going to go on your anode. Make sure that you get a nice watertight seal. Okay, so this is pretty much drained off. Go ahead and put the anode back in. Okay, I got the anode back in. I'll go ahead and wipe everything down. Just don't like a lot of water sitting in the back of here. Got some electrical cords coming in. And then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and fill up the hot water tank. That's probably the next step, is to turn your water supply back on. The water will go back through the filters, fill up the hot water tank, and then we will, typically what I'll do is I'll light off the gas first, just to make sure that the gas is back functioning. And then if the gas lights off and seems to be working fine, I'll go ahead and turn the gas off, and then I'll flip it to electric, and then I'll wait a couple of hours and make sure that the electric hot water side is working as well. Other than that, I'll put the cover back on, and that's really about it. This is a pretty easy project. I had an RV. We've had several RVs previously, and when I was not full-time in the RV, I only did this maybe once every 5 or 10 years, honestly. But now that we are full-time, this should be at least an annual inspection to dump the water out, put new water in, and make sure that the anode is good, and make sure that both the electric and the water supply is working correctly. So we'll put the cover back on. Maybe. Okay. Well, that's it for today. I think we've made quite a mess down here, so now I gotta do some work on cleaning up. But yeah, that's it. So we got our freshwater filters complete. We got our hot water tank rinsed out, anode checked, and I feel good about getting back on the road here in the near future. Less than 2 weeks. Time is a ticking. We'll do another video here shortly, kind of describing a little bit more in detail on what our travel plans and what our specific locations are going to be. Until then, yabba dabba doo, we'll be at a campsite near you. Okay, one last thing. So I wanted to let you know that you do have to flip this back down so that that closes. I forgot to do that. And so what happened is the hot water tank filled up and then it started coming out of here. So you gotta flip that pressure release back on. So now we'll go ahead and check the propane side of the hot water and make sure it works. Okay, go ahead and turn it on. Yep. Gas side of the hot water tank looks like it's working just fine. And so since that's running, we'll go ahead and shut that down, turn it to electric, give it an hour or two to warm up, and make sure that the electric side is working. So anyways, don't forget when you're done, flip that back down to pressurize your system. And that's it. Yabba dabba doo, take 2. We'll be at a campsite near you.